Hey there, Yumi and DC fans, and welcome if you are new. I am the stepson of Krypton, coming to you today with Titans 29, the next in the DCKO tie-in events. All right, guys, things are really starting to pick up in the DCKO, and we know this week alone we're going to have 4 other installments to the KO event. I don't want to waste any more time because I want to get this video out as quick as possible. Let's just go ahead and get on into it. All right, guys. So if we remember the end of last issue, Starfire had gone out into space. She's trying to oversee some of the transports, getting people off of the planet, and she ran into the Apocalyptic army with the Parademons and Granny Goodness and the Female Furies. Well, this issue, we're going to go back about a week. Everything, the evacuation is still happening. We are working on evacuating Earth. The Titans are now in the bunker because obviously the Titans headquarters had been launched into space here. When Roy brings up a rather interesting point, is what about the villains? Right? There are some detention centers that are being converted into transport ships, even using the bottling tech. They know the Phantom Zone. They put quite a few of the really bad villains in there. But what about the ones they can't find? Your Deathstrokes and things of that nature that are nowhere to be found. And it kind of raises the question of they're talking about they say in here it's like, oh well, we'll transport them and we'll treat it just like Earth, and then we'll stop them. But at what point do you just finally say enough with these villains and they get put to death? I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. We flash forward the week because we're into now, and Raven and Nightwing are overlooking this large encampment of evacuees, and Raven, obviously being an empath, is feeling a flood of emotions coming from all of the people, frightened as they're trying to cope with, and they're on a completely different planet. And then, of course, our host drops by to introduce herself. Welcome to Gemworld, Lady Amethyst says. And we see this massive amethyst castle in the background behind her. Now, for those of you who don't know about Gemworld, I won't go into all the different stories because obviously, again, it's been retconned a few times. But as far as the Earth One is concerned, the planet was originally kind of owned by the Lords of Chaos, but a sorceress from Earth, she had made a deal with them, allowing magic users from Earth to immigrate there, where Earth, their magic levels kind of have been started to drop due to a change in the alignment of the stars because of a supernova, right? So Gemworld is normally ruled by the house, the 12 different houses, each representing a different gemstone. I know, big shocker. And Amethyst, or Amy, she would rather go by right now, mentions to Nightwing that most of the original settlers were from Earth, as I just mentioned. And she herself spent the first 13 years of her life there, which, now, to be fair, she was born on Gemworld, but then spent the next 13 years, which might explain also why she's so welcoming to the people trying to seek refuge. And as they continue to talk about resettlement plans, Raven quietly asks her about her plus one, Tara, previously locked up, that we saw in the last issue. And then all of a sudden, problem. I know, another big shocker, right? We see this little child, and it seems that during the evacuation, the child has become separated from her mother and needs help. And of course, Raven normally would be able to just sense another person, another woman worrying, be able to locate her up with, again, with the flood of different emotions pouring out from all of these evacuees. She is not able to, so they say we're going to take the kid to the magicians of Gemworld. But I don't know, man. If you're looking at it here, something seems a little sus with this kid. Amy leaves Nightwing and Raven alone to get settled, and they marvel, no pun intended, at just how beautiful this palace is. Even though Dick did grow up in a mansion, nothing like this exists in Bloodhaven, and he wasn't living in a palace. Raven can't escape her worry for her fellow Titans, knowing Cyborg is currently in the KO tournament, and Roy, John, and Donna are continuing to help with the evacuation from Earth. And just as it cuts to them, we were reminded of the situation Starfire was in when the issue 28 ended that I've mentioned at the beginning here, as the team's trying to get in contact with her. We see the scene that is right back where we left off at issue 28. Starfire's there, just as eager to try to get a hold of her teammates as they are with her. Now faces the army of Apocalypse, including, again, I said, we saw the female fairies, we saw Granny Goodness, and a whole mess of parademons. We do a quick kind of jump back to Nightwing and Raven, and there's some talk about Garr, who took Beast Girl and another refugee transport to another planet, and that was supposedly not supposed to have animal life. I mean, I guess they were wrong when you see these massive creatures that are getting ready to eat the refugees. I feel like somebody made a mistake. And then, as Raven continues to address her worries. They are hit with some kind of a sonic wave of some sort, and Raven's first thought that it would be Terra, but the source doesn't seem to be coming from the catacombs. They get to the chamber where the wave has originated from, and it would seem that the lost little girl was not a girl at all, but it's Jinx. And she has imprisoned Amy and the others, or at least what we see right now is several others within their own gemstones. And for those of you who don't know Jinx, she is a sorceress. She has the ability to command the elements. And if you're fans of the TV series Titans, you would recognize her. She showed up in season 4 for like 4 or 5 episodes. And it seems she is now the new self-proclaimed princess of Gemworld. We kind of catch back up with Starfire, and the battle is getting ready to start. She's trying to protect the transport ships, but it seems she won't be doing this alone, as we see a familiar green glow appear. And we get the nice little Green Lantern Corps symbol at the top of the page, and we see Jessica Cruz and several other lanterns coming to her aid. But it seems that the transport ships are leaving. The army of Apocalypse isn't pursuing, they're letting them go and even letting the lanterns leave. And as Granny Goodness says, it's they're waiting for a signal, obviously, I'd say from Darkseid, to invade Earth. And just as the heroes are making their escape, they encounter somebody else that Kori is familiar with. Blackfire, her sister, who has apparently taken on the title of Queen and expects thanks for providing assistance to the people of Earth. Not sure what she did thus far, but so back with Jinx on Gemworld, we learn that she has used her powers to disguise herself and escape Earth to come to a place that is a magic wielder's dream. You remember with the Lords of Chaos when they were first letting Earth the refugees come here is for the magic users, because this place holds immense power and magic, and the magic that is held within these gemstones. And also, in reference to the conversation we had at the beginning of this episode, is it kind of that perfect example of what do you do with the villains, right? She escaped Earth, and now she's on a planet where her powers have been greatly amplified, and she imprisoned the royal families and stole their power. So they continue to fight Jinx, and she, of course, unleashes her minions to help. You know, Nightwing radios for help, but most of the other evac teams seem to be running into their own problems. I'm not sure how much help they're going to be. And of course, with everything happening on Gemworld, Raven can't contact anyone telepathically either. It looks like they only have one choice for backup, and it isn't a good one. Down in the catacombs, Raven approaches a prisoner tank like we saw in the last issue. And if it isn't our old pal Terra, she must be their only hope. But can they trust her? Raven, having let her go, is really hoping she hasn't made the mistake, as we kind of see Terra just like looking at her, right? Now, keep in mind, she was a double agent for Deathstroke that spied on the Titan. So it's understandable that the trust is not there. Then on the last page, in kind of a dramatic change of scenery, we cut to Cyborg, who's kind of looking like a boxer getting ready to go into a big fight, which might not actually be too far off. And he's kind of trying to hype himself up for what he's got to do. And of course, at the very bottom, it says the next issue, Cyborg enters the ring. So it is exactly like a boxer getting ready for a fight. It was not off here. And that is where the issue ends. All right, guys. So kind of a shorter issue. It was only about 20 pages. I know with these tie-ins, they're really just kind of trying to cover what is kind of happening in the interim and all around with everybody else who's not in the KO event. So I'm hoping now that within these next few issues, we're going to actually get our first fight that some of these tie-ins were going to have a little more substance and not as much about the evacuation, but what's going on with the rest of the people of Earth during the fight. So I'm excited to see that. Let me know down in the comments, how are you feeling about the tie-ins and how are you feeling about the KO event? Are you excited for it? And if you have made it with me this far, consider giving the video a like, subscribing to the channel, and having the bell notifications clicked so you will get alerted when we release all of our new videos, because YouTube's kind of being a dick to our channel right now, and it's not really doing a lot of recommendations for our channel. So having those notifications clicked will definitely help not only us, but then you as well, because we've got, like I said, at least 4 KO events releasing this week, and we are going to try to rapid fire those out for you guys. And to, like the others, to keep this as short as is humanly possible, that is going to wrap it for me on this episode of You, Me, and DC. Until next time, guys, I'll see you then.